UFC Fight Night Saint Denis versus Moicano is an absolute banger of a fight night, guys. I can't wait to break down this card. Today, we're going to be breaking down the entire card with timestamps if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with many YouTube channels, and welcome back to another full card breakdown, everybody, where we're going to be talking about all of these fights, breaking them down as much as we possibly can. I'm going to be predicting the fights, talking about any fighters I'd like to win, and then we're going to take a look at the betting odds and seeing how everything's looking over there. There is one important note, speaking of betting odds. At the time of recording this video, there have been some fight changes, and if I'm not mistaken, some fights added. Regardless, I don't think that we have betting odds for every single fight. For the fights that we do have them, though, we're absolutely going to be taking a look at that, guys. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the card. Let's get straight into it for today. Kicking off the card, we have Nora, Cornolle versus Jacqueline, Cavalcanti. Now, this is a very, very interesting switch up because Cavalcanti, I apologize, I don't exactly know how to pronounce her name. I don't even know if it's Jacqueline. She is taking this fight after fighting just over 2 weeks ago, again, at the time of recording this video, against Josiane Nunes. Now, I was out of town. I missed this fight. I missed the first few fights on this card. I still have not watched this fight. I heard it was a very good showing and a somewhat of a dominant win, even though it was a split decision. That's what I've heard, so don't take my word for it. But, of course, that fight kind of went as expected. Nunes not really being able to do much. But anyways, you have Nora Cornolle, who is an aggressive striker, and for the bantamweight division in the women's division, she is very, very violent. And I think that's a really good trait to have when you're talking about this division. She'll throw every kind of strike at you in order to try and get the finish. She, at times, though, does unfortunately display low fight IQ, trying to get that finish. It's one of those fighters, and we're going to take a look at a couple other fighters on the card that also have this issue of chasing the finish, and because of that, sometimes they leave themselves open. You have Jacqueline Cavalcanti, on the other hand, who is a kind of the opposite fighter. She is a technical striker with really good movement, low kicks, she has good cardio, and honestly just flow in general when she's moving around. Like, she is very technical for the bantamweight division. She's never really still, she's always moving around, but unfortunately her big issue is she is not nearly a dangerous fighter. So it's a very interesting matchup actually for this division, because you have Nora Cornolle, who wants to come in and absolutely murder you, does have finishing potential for the division, and you have Jacqueline, who on the other hand wants to move around, wants to point fight you, wants to keep things slow, technical, well, not like super slow, and she doesn't have the finishing ability. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup, and I know it's pretty easy to say, but who can implement their game plan? I am more so leaning towards the side of Nora Cornolle, but I'm not too confident in saying so, because again, I can see a world where she just tries to rush forward and just can't get to Jacqueline. I see that happening, but I also see a world where she overwhelms Jacqueline, gets her against the fence maybe, and starts unloading a little bit. She does have finishing ability, and the other thing that I don't like is I'm not sure how much weight Jacqueline cuts, but she just fought over 2 weeks ago. She's going to go through another weight cut. It's a short notice opponent. Nora Cornolle had an entire training camp, but I understand that Jacqueline is kind of still in shape unless she got off of that fight and start eating like cheesecake and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a possibility, but right now I'm going to side with Nora Cornolle. It's a very, very low confidence pick. For who I'd like to win though, I don't know, man. I don't really care too much, but if you made me cheer for somebody, it'd be Jacqueline to get the win over here. Let's take a look at the betting odds and here we go. This is the issue. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't notice that this was still for Geraint Durant to me. Not every, like I was talking about, not every fight over here has betting odds as of right now. And OddsJam is the quickest one to get to them. So as of right now, no betting odds. I would imagine Jacqueline would be the favorite though. All right, guys, let's move on over to the next fight. A fight that I'm very excited to see. We have Ludovic Klein taking on Roosevelt Roberts, who I actually, to be honest with you, forgot returned to the UFC. This is a very interesting fight, in the sense that I'm excited to see Ludovic Klein back again. I would imagine here, long story short, my prediction is going to be Ludovic Klein, but you have Ludovic Klein, who is a versatile striker with very strong head kicks, combinations in general. He'll strike you anywhere from the body to the head. He does a really, really good job doing so. And on top of that, while he is really good with the striking, he is shown to have really solid takedown defense as well. Roosevelt Roberts, on the other hand, unfortunately, is coming off of a tough loss to Mateusz Rebecki, but before that, he actually left the UFC. I would imagine he got cut, but I don't recall exactly why he left. He wasn't able to put it together, and then he got 2 wins outside of the UFC, was brought back to fight Mateusz Rebecki, and unfortunately got the loss over there. But other than that, Roosevelt Roberts, I think, is actually like don't get me wrong, I don't think he's some world beater or anything. I don't think he's a top contender, but I do think he's a little bit of an underrated fighter. He's a very, very long striker with really good movement. He has good speed, good kicks. He has a really nice jab behind it. The only issue, and this has been the issue throughout Roberts' career sometimes, is he is open to being chin, and at times the path to victory against him is to take him down. But then again, like, that's a little iffy because he does have submissions in his arsenal, but you can't really count on that, to be honest with you. And another thing to note is I'm almost sure that the reason he got back in the UFC was because he took this fight against Rebecca on short notice. Don't count that what I'm saying. Take that with a grain of salt. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, it's still a really good showing, and I think that might be why he got into the UFC. I'm thinking I might be remembering that correctly. Regardless, Ludovit Klein I have underrated him. I always thought he was a good fighter, don't get me wrong, but like, take a look at these last wins that he's had. Ignacio Baja Mendez, AJ Cunningham, Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises is actually, I bet on this fight for Thiago Moises. I thought he'd be better than Ludovit Klein, but Ludovit Klein, man, is the real deal. I am officially convinced of him, although, like, I probably should have been convinced of him a little while ago. I think this dude has serious potential in the division. I think he's just going to be better than Roosevelt Roberts. This is probably going to stay on the feet. I don't see Roberts shooting for takedowns, and Ludovit Klein is going to piece up Roosevelt Roberts, in my opinion. He is in his prime. He is absolutely on a roll. Roberts can be chinned. Ludovit Klein will probably chin him. I think that he is a fantastic fighter. I've been underrating him, and I'm officially on the Ludovit Klein train. I'm going to be picking him to win. And honestly, I want to see the train keep rolling. I feel bad for Roberts in the sense where he really, really needs this win, but I can't help but cheer for Klein, man. He is just such an exciting fighter to watch. Taking a look over at odds, JMC Roosevelt Roberts is, wow, a plus 525 underdog at the time of recording this video, and Ludovit Klein is a minus 700. Unfortunately, I do agree with that. Those odds make sense to me. I think Ludovit Klein is one of my most confident picks on the card. I would imagine the same thing for a lot of you, to be honest. All right, guys, let's keep moving up the card to the, I guess you could say long-awaited return. Not really, but hardcore fans are kind of excited for this guy. Bolaji Oki, and I apologize for pronouncing that name wrong, the Zulu Warrior, and he's taking on Chris Duncan. Bolaji Oki is a fighter that a lot of people are really, really high on. I still don't know really what to think about him, but he is coming into the UFC. We finally saw him off of the Contender Series make his UFC debut, and it was an okay performance in my opinion. And he's still getting his feet wet when it comes to high-level MMA. But anyways, he's coming into the UFC as a Muay Thai and kickboxing world champion. He is a very, very good striker with absolutely huge power. He does a good job controlling the pace, has a strong but at the same time kind of slowish jab, and honestly, he's just pretty methodical on the feet in general. Takedown defense is okay. He has really good sprawls here and there. The only thing that I don't like about Bolaji Oki is sometimes he has been known, and we've seen this, he clowns around in the octagon. When he does that, he leaves himself open for shots. It's not like he's walking around being like Anderson Silva used to be or anything. It's just, you see it every once in a while, him like getting hyped up, getting into the fight. You get what I'm saying? The point is, one day, if he continues that, he is going to get chinned. He's taking on Chris Duncan, who's a powerful striker with huge, huge heart, always pushes to get the wins. He's pretty accurate, and he has absolutely no issues throwing himself into a firefight. Other than that, his grappling is just okay. Chris Duncan was on a nice roll coming to the UFC, and then he lost to Manuel Torres, which honestly isn't really anything to be ashamed about. And both guys are kind of, I would say, in the same spot in their career right now. Bolaji Oki, I don't know, man. I got a funny feeling about this one. I think Oki's going to get the job done. Chris Duncan could very well push a pace, and you can never count Chris Duncan out of a fight. He could be losing, and all of a sudden he'll come back and just either get a finish, or he'll start pushing the pace and break you a little bit. But I like the power that I've seen from Bolaji Oki. I still need to see a little bit more from him when it comes to better opponents than Chris Duncan. It's not to say that Chris Duncan's a can. I just think that Bolaji Oki will pass this test. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I'm going to pick him to get the win. I think he's just going to get the better of the striking exchanges, potentially find a finish. I just think he's going to be a little bit better. For who I'd like to win, honestly, I don't care. I just really want to see a good fight. And at the time of recording this video, guys, there are no odds for this fight. Apologies for that. But now let's continue on up the card, everybody, to the return of Ican Cutelaba taking on Ivan Erslan, coming into the UFC with a little bit of a spotty record coming out of the KSW, longtime fighter over there. Now, Ivan Erslan, I don't know if this fight was taken on short notice or anything like that, because I don't know how he got his UFC shot. Regardless, they could have just very well signed him. Regardless, Ican Cutelaba. It's unfortunate watching this guy, man, because I'll break him down really quick. He is a grappler with massive, massive power. He likes to slug it out, but unfortunately, he is, and his 17-0 record shows, one of the most inconsistent fighters ever, because he has absolutely no issues throwing himself into a firefight, and he either wins because he has bombs in his hands, or he loses because he gets chinned. On the ground, though, which is shockingly, like, from a casual perspective, on the ground, that's pretty much his primary base, to be honest. He's very skilled, and I don't think people talk about that enough, but he would just be better with fight IQ. He needs to go in, he needs to go for some takedowns, but Ican Cutelaba has faced the same fate many, many times. He either kills somebody, or he gets killed. Ican Cutelaba has one win in his last 5, and that's against Tanner Boser, who is... make of that what you will. But he lost to Felipe Lins, Kenny Nizuchuku, Johnny Walker, Ryan Spann. Even those losses, to be honest with you, aren't aging well. It's always surprising to me how young he is in his career, but he's had a lot of miles and he's taken a lot of damage. So I think he's a little bit of an older guy in there. But anyways, Ivan Erslan is a fighter that I've had to actually go back and watch a few fights on because I wasn't familiar with this guy. But what I got from it, and I haven't watched nearly all of his career, don't get me wrong. So if you're taking any betting advice from this video, this is not the fight to do it. He's a striker. He has really good power, really good aggression. He has good ground defense. And in my opinion, like from what I've seen a little bit, he has underrated BJJ. Although it seems to be he wants to keep his primary work on the feet. He's really, really good there. And the problem is when you're breaking down an Ican Cutelaba fight, it almost doesn't matter who the opponent is. Is he going to get chinned, or is he going to knock the guy out? That's kind of like that's kind of what it's like for just Ican Cutelaba. But I got a funny feeling he might win this one. He does have a lot of miles on him. Erslan does have good striking. He can absolutely chin Cutelaba. This is kind of like a 50-50-ish fight. I'm kind of leaning towards 60-40 over Ican Cutelaba's side. I'm going to pick him to win because I am not convinced of Ivan Erslan to win. And I would like to see Ican Cutelaba get the win. He really, really needs it. And you can see that the betting odds over here show kind of the same thing. Ivan Erslan sitting at a very, very slight underdog. Never, never in a million years, guys, if you take anything away from this video, bet on an Ican Cutelaba fight. I think you're crazy, and I think you are just risking your money. You're throwing it on red. You're tossing a coin. You never know what's going to happen with this guy. All right, guys, let's move on to the next fight over here. We have Oumar Sy taking on Woon Jung. A little bit of a less interesting fight, but at the same time, it's still, this whole fight night's really, really good in my opinion. I'm excited to see Oumar Sy back. Woon Jung is pretty fun to watch too, so I don't know why I'm even criticizing at the moment. Anyways, there's not much to break down about this one, to be honest, because you have Oumar Sy, who has a perfect 10-0 record right now. He's a well-rounded fighter. Very, very dangerous finisher. He can finish a fight both on the feet and on the ground. Well-rounded fighter. He's really, really good at what he does. He's entering his prime, has a really nice reach. He's kind of big for the division, and he just got his first UFC victory against Tuco Tokos, which there wasn't really too much to say about it, man. Like, he came in, got the UFC debut win, and he's taking on Woon Jung, who is a dangerous and well-rounded fighter who can, again, it's kind of like the same thing over here. Like, Oumar Sy is pretty good on the feet on the ground. I would say Woon Jung is a little bit of the same. He has really good control. He has power. He does a good job mixing things up. Like I said, there's not a ton to break down when it comes to this fight because you have an interesting matchup over here. But the problem is Woon Jung is riding a 3-fight losing streak. But it is important to note, okay, it is against fairly quality opponents over here. I think Dustin Jacoby's a good opponent. Make the Devin Clark win, or excuse me, loss. Make that of what you will. And then you have the Carlos Ulberg, which aged very, very well. He hasn't won a fight in almost 3 years, but then again, his wins have also aged fairly well. I don't know about the William Knight win, but you get the point that I'm saying. Woon Jung, I wouldn't count him completely out, but guys, I have to go Oumar Sy here. I just have to. The role that he's on, he's been more impressive recently. He's not on a 3-fight losing streak. He's going to have a reach advantage. Does well with his reach. I like Oumar Sy in this matchup, and I'm going to pick him to get the win. Not too much to break down there, so let's take a look at the odds over here, Ian. Kind of makes sense, to be honest with you. You have Oumar Sy sitting at a minus 402 average odds. I get that, man. I just think that he's going to win the fight. There's, again, sorry, not too much to break down when it comes to that one. But now, guys, let's move on to another fight, a fight that I am extremely, extremely excited to watch over here. We have Daniel Barez taking on Victor Altamirano. Now, this is a great matchup. If you guys don't know, big fan of Victor Altamirano. I think he's incredibly exciting. I can't wait to see him compete again. You know what? I'm going to start with him. He is a fast and powerful striker. He does a great job technically. The shots are really, really crisp, especially at range. Now, it's interesting to see where Victor Altamirano is in his career right now because takedown defense and ground and pound kind of have been his new out to be like a little bit of a hole in his game, but he is a fighter that is constantly improving. Every single time that we see this guy in the octagon, he's a little bit better. And then we saw that, so it's tough to say where he's at because in his fight against Dos Santos, he showed that he has great submission defense. He was even grappling offensively, which is something we have not seen from him in that sense. So it's difficult because he came into the UFC, right? I'll start with his win streak over here, okay? Daniel Lacerda looked great. Vinicius Salvador looked good. But then the Tim Elliott fight came, and we're like, oh my god, this dude might have a hole in his game. Then the Felipe Dos Santos fight, and it's very important to note, by the way, he absolutely won this fight. It was a robbery. I do not think Dos Santos should have been given that decision. He was vastly, vastly improved in this fight. Like, I am so high on this guy right now. I think his future is, I think he has a bright future. I'm not saying he's going to be champion or anything, but I think that he can compete with the upper ranks in the division. So my point being, it's a little bit difficult to gauge on Victor Altamirano's stage in his career, because you could say like, oh, well, yeah, I need to take this guy down, but is that really the case, or is he just going to show up and have like the best takedown defense ever now? Daniel Barez, on the other hand, okay? He was riding a really, really nice win streak, and then came into the UFC against Jeff El Filho, a great opponent, by the way, and I think he still had a good performance over there. He's a striker with huge pressure, pace, and real hard power behind his shots. He has great boxing. He has great grappling. He wants to finish the fight anywhere, and he will take risks to get the job done, and that's why he's so exciting to watch. Another thing I like about Daniel Barez is his body shots are money. His power with his kicks and his hands are the real deal. So this should be a very, very fun striking match. It should be. The pace should be really nice. Now, we did see Victor Altamirano fade recently, but it's important to note that that fight was at elevation, so I don't know how much I'm willing to take that in consideration, because other than that, he's looked pretty good. I don't think we should be counting Daniel Barez out. I think he's a very good fighter himself, but I'm going to be picking Victor Altamirano. I like the rate that he's improving at. I think he won his last fight. I think he learned a lot from the Tim Elliott loss, and I think he had a really good performance against Felipe Dos Santos. I think he's going to show up, continue to improve, and I am going to pick him to get the win over here. And if you guys don't know, and just in case you're new to the channel, my picks are not biased. I oftentimes pick against the guys that I'm cheering for. Okay, now let's take a look at the odds over here. Victor Altamirano is sitting at underdog money right now. That's something that I'll actually consider hitting. But Daniel Barez, make no mistake about it, Daniel Barez is also a really, really good fighter. This is a great matchup. One of the best on the card, guys. Now we move on from an amazing fight to a fight that I'm personally not really looking forward to. We have Ailin Perez taking on, I'm going to give it a shot, guys. I always forget how the proper pronunciation. Daria Zeleksinikova, the Iron Lady. I'm going to go with Fiona and the Iron Lady. That's what we're going to do over here. So you have Ailin Perez, who is primarily a grappler. She does well offensively. Daria is an aggressive fighter with extremely sloppy striking, and she doesn't really have a good ground game. Like, she was really hyped coming to the UFC, and she got the win over Montserrat Rendon, but she is completely overhyped. The fight was close. She got busted up walking forward with sloppy striking, and she was taken down by somebody who sucked even more. Very, very strange UFC debut there. Did not live up to the hype at all. Ailin Perez coming off of an absolute robbery win against Jocelyn Edwards. Neither of these fighters are impressive to me, and I don't really know who's going to win. It's tough. We don't even have the reach for Daria, but even then, her striking is not that good. I'm going to go with Ailin Perez just because she probably has the heart advantage. I don't know. And you got to think about it this way, too. The UFC will probably want to promote Ailin Perez. If it's a little bit of a close fight, they'll probably give her a split decision, kind of like Vanessa Demopoulos, because at least you can get some clips from Ailin Perez. I'm not going to lie. I don't really care about that fight, and I don't care who wins that fight. Let's take a look at the odds over here. Ailin Perez is sitting at a pretty decent favorite over there. I don't know how I feel about those odds. I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about everything. Now, guys, before we continue on to the main card, I want to stop you for just a second. If you guys are interested in either supporting the channel or seeing where I put my money, where my mouth is when it comes to betting, because I talk a lot about betting on this channel, you can check out the channel membership, which is very cheap compared to other channels. Every single Thursday or Friday before an event, I'll be making a members-only community post and members-only video telling you exactly what I'm going to be doing with my own money. So if you're interested in either supporting the channel or combining my fight knowledge with your own research to maybe get a gauge on things, then again, pinned comment, description down below, it'll be right there for you. So again, very cheap compared to other channels. I appreciate everybody who already does support. I appreciate you guys just watching in general, man. I'm glad you guys, I get a lot of nice comments about these breakdowns that I do, and the view duration is really nuts on them. So I just appreciate you guys in general. If you're looking to support further, that's an option for you. Also, the tool that we have been using, OddsJam, they are a sponsor for this video. If you're interested in signing up to OddsJam, if you have multiple sports books, if you want to get ahead of everything, get a gauge on where the best lines are at, you can check out OddsJam in the link in the pinned comment description down below. You can get a discount by clicking that link and using code Clenbat. Thank you guys for listening. Let's get into the main card. Now, guys, let's move on to this main card. Guys, we have a fantastic main card when it comes to a fight night. I'm excited for this. We're kicking things off with Morgan Charrier taking on Gabriel Miranda. I am very excited to watch Morgan Charrier ever since, especially his last win. 19-10 coming back, put together a wonderful win streak. He is an explosive and elusive striker who typically does a really good job coming forward. He uses his range very well. He can fight anywhere, but he prefers to keep things standing. He's amazing at what he does. He was riding a really good win streak coming into the UFC, got a nice win with body kicks, and then he had the Chepe Mariscal loss. If you guys follow the channel, you would know I'm a huge fan of Chepe Mariscal. Chepe did not win this fight. This was a complete robbery. And you guys also might know, if you follow the channel, how highly I hold Chepe Mariscal as a fighter. To match Chepe's game and excel it, I think is a fantastic thing to do and a huge feather in your cap. And just with that performance alone, put Morgan Charrier really on my radar for heading towards the rankings of the division. He's very exciting to watch. Gabriel Miranda, on the other hand, unfortunately, I can't say that I really feel the same because he is a grappler. He has really good entries. He has really good takedowns, but he wants to get you to the ground. He wants to take his time and really work to find a submission. He has excellent transitions in that sense. But the problem is if he doesn't get a takedown, he is, and I don't want to be disrespectful, he is basically useless. So you have the BJJ game versus Morgan Charrier, who can kind of fight everywhere. I am definitely going to be picking Morgan Charrier in this fight. I am very high on him as a prospect, and I am not so hyped on Gabriel Miranda. He's coming off of a win. He's been in the UFC for a little bit, but at the same time, I just don't think that he's going to submit Morgan Charrier. I think Charrier is going to just destroy him. I'm very confident in this fight. And plus, you have the 28 years old, almost 29 years old, entering his prime against Gabriel Miranda, who is officially past his prime now. He's one of those guys that doesn't have the evolving MMA game. That's a little bit of the issue. So I'm picking Morgan Charrier. I want Morgan Charrier to win. I can't wait to watch this dude fight. And at the time of recording this video, guys, there are no lines out for this fight, so we can't take a look at the betting odds. Now, guys, let's continue on over to the next fight. We have another absolute banger with Kevin Jousset taking on Bryan Battle. It's been a while since we've seen Bryan Battle, man. 5 months ago, I feel like it was longer than that. I like watching Bryan Battle fight, dude. Especially since the unfortunate performance that we had last time. You know what? I'll start with Bryan Battle. He is a decently well-rounded fighter who excels at striking. He has really good power, huge kicks, and he has the will to get the job done in a fight. Every single time that we see this guy, just like I was talking about with Victor Altamirano, he is making huge improvements. He really puts his time into the into his training outside of the octagon. So Bryan Battle is one of those guys that I don't believe you can ever count out, because all of a sudden he can show a really improved game. Kevin Jousset, on the other hand, we kind of know what we're getting with him. He's a striker with slow pace, slow volume. He takes his time. He can use takedowns when he comes in close, but he is a very good kickboxer in himself. So I would imagine this fight's going to stand the feet. That's my guess. But the problem is, I don't know why, man. This one's a little bit more of a gut feeling. I've just been more impressed by Bryan Battle. And you know what? The AJ Fletcher win was okay. The Renat Fakhretdinov loss was horrible, but then he had a really good performance against Gabe Green, and he was well on his way to beating Angelusa. That's a little bit tough for me. So sometimes Bryan Battle has those iffy performances, but I just think he's dangerous. Kevin Jousset, on the other hand, came into the UFC and fought two pretty good fighters, Kiefer Crosby and Kenan Song. He got two nice wins there. He's looked really good. A guy out of City Kickboxing, training with some of the best guys. I honestly really like what I've seen from both guys. But again, this one's a little bit more of a gut feeling. I just feel like Bryan Battle will be a little bit more dangerous, a little bit better in this fight. I'm going to choose him, but it is a low confidence pick. I'm kind of sitting 60-40, 70-30 over for Bryan Battle. More so 60-40. That one, again, just a gut feeling. I think this fight could go either way, to be honest with you. Plus, you got to think about it. Is Bryan Battle going to show up really improved? That's something that I think that we need to take into consideration. For who I'd like to win, I think I'd like Bryan Battle to win, man. He's really fun to watch fight. He's fun inside the octagon. He's fun outside the octagon. Let's take a look at the odds. Little bit kind of what I'm saying. A little bit like a pick'em. Bryan Battle being a very small favorite. That's how I think the odds should be, to be honest with you. I don't know why. A little bit more of a gut feeling that Bryan Battle's going to get the job done. So I cannot wait to watch that fight. Now, guys, let's move on to the next fight, which I don't know about you guys, but I'm personally shocked that this isn't the co-main event. I don't know why. I really thought it would be. Nassourdine Imavov versus Brendan Ailin. This is a fantastic fight, and this could determine the next middleweight title shot. I know people think it's Sean Strickland and it'll look bad if an announcement comes out before then, but I'm not so sure. The UFC hasn't announced it for some reason. Dricus du Plessis hasn't really been talking about it as far as I'm aware. So regardless, after that fight, these two could be setting up for a title fight or a match with Robert Whittaker. Nassourdine Imavov, precise striker, really, really nice movement. He's a strong clinch and a great ground game as well. He is a very, very complete fighter. Brendan Allen is a fighter that I was extremely high on in saying that he was going to be a champion until his most recent performance. Okay? He is an extremely well-rounded fighter. He can do anything. He's really, really good when he's a patient. He looks for his openings, but you can't always count on him to just be patient and look for his openings. But in my opinion, I think that Brendan Allen does shine on the ground and people underrate his work there. He is at the top of the division when it comes to grappling. So here's the other issue. We recently saw Brendan Allen in a 5-round performance, and I do not believe that he passed the test. He faded so hard in the 4th and the 5th round against Chris Curtis. But before that, he was doing very, very well. That's a big issue in my opinion. That's a big issue if you're fighting somebody like Nassourdine Imavov. That's a big issue if you're looking to fight for a title. I can hope that Brendan Allen changed it up, got the cardio a little bit better, because he is a fantastic fighter, and I think he belongs at the top of the division. It's just, you can't fade like that at the end. Like, you got to think, once you get to round 4 with guys like Whittaker, du Plessis, Imavov even, that's going to be big issues. But this is a 3-round fight. So very, very different. I also want to talk about Nassourdine Imavov's recent performance because there was controversy with Jared Cannonier. He was losing a boxing match for 3 rounds. He wasn't doing bad, but he was just a little bit of a step behind. He just ended up catching Cannonier. And the stoppage was controversial, but I don't think it was controversial. I thought he would have got the finish anyways. Other than that, Nassourdine Imavov has had a really, really good career in the UFC so far against pretty good guys. His only loss being to Sean Strickland. And for some reason I thought that was a close fight. But I'd have to watch that fight again. I don't know. Regardless, got the win over Joaquin Buckley as well. He's had a really good performance so far. And Brendan Allen has been tearing through the division. Like, he's fought some really good opponents as well. And I know they're not as good, okay? But I do think that these fighters are nice feathers in your cap to get the win over. So Chris Curtis being his biggest win as of recently. But I was left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth after that performance. Since this is a 3-round fight, I'm going to pick Brendan Allen to get the win. It's a close fight. I can see Imavov winning this fight. Again, I know this is a little bit of a tricky card to pick. Again, I'm like 60-40 on this one for Brendan Allen. I would be picking Imavov if it was a 5-round fight, but I think Brendan Allen will get the better of Imavov throughout the 3 rounds. I'm going to pick him to get the win. I like Brendan Allen. I like Nassourdine Imavov. It's one of those fights that you have both guys that have been putting so much work in the division, and it's a shame that one of them is going to lose. I almost kind of want to cheer for Imavov. I don't know, man. Both guys. Yeah, will Imavov be in his hometown? I don't recall where Imavov is from. I think he's from France. Maybe I'll cheer for him for that reason. But anyways, let's take a look over at the odds. Nassourdine Imavov is sitting at a -218 favorite. That makes sense. I understand. He's been having the better performances. People have been a little bit underrating Brendan Allen, in my opinion. I'll pause the video right now. I don't know if you can hear my baby crying upstairs. Sorry about that. But I like that for Nassourdine Imavov. Brendan Allen is definitely a live underdog, though. I don't think I'll be hitting that, though. All right, guys, let's move on to the featured bout of the evening. We have Firas Ziam taking on the always fun Matt Frevola. Now, don't get me wrong when I say this. I really appreciate Firas Ziam's technique, okay? But I find it funny how we matched up one of the more boring fighters in the division versus one of the most exciting guys in the UFC. We have Firas Ziam, who's a long striker who typically likes to play it safe, keep things at bay technically. He's slow-paced, he picks his shots, and only throws them when he's decently confident that they'll land. His goal is to not necessarily finish you, it's to win on points. In saying that, though, he can fight up close to. He has a good clinch game. He has pretty good elbows. He just doesn't prefer to be outside of his range kind of point fighting you. The only real big issue in Ziam's game is his takedown defense. And that's something that I hope Matt Frevola kind of takes advantage of. So you have Matt Frevola, who is a very, very tough fighter. Great pressure with the intent to knock you out with huge, huge power he has in his hands. Like, this dude has some bombs. While he does have great power, he is also a very, very good wrestler with decent control and excellent transitions on the ground. The dude has a very underrated wrestling game, but sometimes he just falls in love with his hands, and that's the problem with Matt Frevola because he has no problem getting himself into a firefight, but then again, the firefight oftentimes works out for him. And I actually think that's what he's going to have to bring against Firas Ziam here because he will be playing at range, he'll be long, he'll be keeping Matt Frevola at bay, He's 75-inch reach. He's going to be using that 4-inch reach advantage to his advantage. Faraziem has put together a nice 3-fight win streak against some pretty good opponents, besides like maybe depending on how you want to look at the Claudio Puelles win. Regardless, I think he's had some good performances. Matt Frevola, of course, coming off, and he's put together a really fun 3-fight win streak too. Like, remember, he shocked the world with the Zaitar, the Drew Dober fight. I didn't expect him to win. Benoit Saint Denis is an interesting one because Benoit belongs at the top of the division for sure. And I still think, like, as long as it ended, or as long as it lasted, he did okay. Like, he showed excellent transitions on the ground right off the bat. Saint Denis just ended up catching him with a head kick on the break, ended up knocking him out. I don't think that's really what we need to be worrying with ZM. I think that Matt Frevola, I think he can win either way. I think that he can rush forward and land some bombs on Faraz ZM and kind of overwhelm him. I don't think that he's going to respect and play the, okay, you can out-technical me here. If he uses his wrestling, that's something that will be a huge advantage against Faraz ZM because he does have an issue defending takedowns. I'm very confident Matt Frevola to get the job done. I think this is a really good matchup for him. And I like both guys, man. I don't know about who I'd like to win, but I think that Matt Frevola, this is a nice matchup for him. I think he's going to get the win here, and I'm interested to see what the odds are. I would imagine he's the favorite, but a little bit of a small favorite over here. We have Matt Frevola sitting at -137. This is something that I am strongly going to consider hitting. I haven't made any of my bets yet, but I like Matt Frevola in this matchup specifically, and I'm interested to see where that line will move. And actually, comment down below about this one, guys, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this one. Maybe people are picking Frevola. I don't know. I'm pretty confident in this one. Let me know what you guys think about that fight. All right, guys, let's move on to the co-main event. We have William Gomez taking on Joanderson Brito. My man, Joanderson Brito. I'm excited to watch this guy again. William Gomez is exciting too, though. I'll start with William Gomez. He is a well-rounded fighter. He can finish you from anywhere or grind you to decision. Sometimes he can get caught up trying to counter and be low volume. That's really his only big weakness, but he's a very, very good fighter. I don't really have too much else to break down about William Gomez. Joanderson Brito, on the other hand, I love watching this guy fight. I love it. He's a really, really tough grappler with heavy pressure, amazing submissions. On the feet, he does lack technique, but this dude comes in and he tries to kill you. He has insane leg kicks. He's another one of those really, really violent guys who just really does his best to hurt his opponents. Joanderson Brito, William Gomez, since coming to the UFC, he's looked pretty good. He's had a couple performances that was like, it's okay, but the Ennis Gamora, he ended up getting a nice win over there. Joanderson Brito, though, has been on an insane win streak. He has been finishing people, hurting people, dominating people. He's looked so good, especially against Jack Shore, man. And I've been saying this, okay? This is what I've been saying, like Joanderson Brito. Like, kind of how I was talking about Chepe Mariscal. I'm going to keep riding the Joanderson Brito train literally until the wheels fall off. I don't care who he's fighting. I'm going to pick him. I'm probably going to put money on him. Just until I see Joanderson Brito lose, I'm going to keep picking him. This dude's violent. This dude's aggressive. This dude really comes in there trying to hurt people. Nothing against William Gomez. But I think that Joanderson Brito is going to come out there, and I think that Joanderson Brito is going to do what he does, hurt his opponents, and I think he's going to beat William Gomez. I'm picking him to get the win. I would like to see him get the win as well. Fan of watching the guy. He is always bringing it, always really, really exciting. You can see Joanderson Brito, wrong scene over there, is at a -271 average odds. Makes sense in my opinion. I think this is, like, William Gomez is a well-rounded fighter. I just think that Joanderson Brito has the experience. He's a little bit tougher. He's a little bit better. But hey, William Gomez could shock the world. I got Joanderson Brito on this one. I'm pretty confident in saying so. Now, guys, let's move on to the main event of the evening. We have Renato Moicano taking on Benoit Saint Denis. An amazing matchup and an amazing division. You have Renato Moicano, who is a very tough fighter, who is, honestly, he's, I hate to say it, but he's okay everywhere, but he's very, very, very good at BJJ. The striking has been improving each time we see him, but still, he doesn't necessarily shine in that department at all. One thing that stands out about Moicano, and I think this is very important to note when breaking down Moicano's fights, is he puts himself in the mind space of a I will not lose situation. I cannot afford to lose because, of course, we all know Money Moicano, he wants to get the win bonus. He wants to keep getting the win. He wants to set up to have his family be financially free, and I really respect that. And Moicano really fights on, like, he puts himself in that headspace. I cannot lose no matter what. His heart and his will bring him to victory. Benoit Saint Denis, an absolute killer on everybody's radar right now. He is a very, very well-rounded and dangerous fighter who, like we were talking about with Joanderson Brito, man, he is really violent. He wants to make his opponents suffer. He has no problem throwing himself in there to get the win. He's great technically. He's great in the pocket. He has fantastic body kicks. He has great clinch work, submissions. The guy can do it all, and he's really, really good at making his opponents worry about what's coming next. Attack the body, go for a takedown, things like that. The only issue with Benoit Saint Denis is, like we were talking about with a couple guys on this card, he has no problem throwing himself into the firefight, and he's open to being caught in that sense. We've seen him get caught before, but of course, he's coming off the Dustin Poirier loss. And I will say, he should have won this fight, man. That's what I'm gonna say it. He should absolutely have won this fight. He had staph infection. His cardio was compromised. He was well on his way to beating Dustin Poirier. He was out striking him. He was out grappling him. He got too careless, and he fought in Dustin's boxing clinch game and just ended up getting caught. What I learned from Benoit Saint Denis, he absolutely belongs at the top of the division. Now, unfortunately, guys, I think that Benoit Saint Denis is just better everywhere. He's in his prime. The only way that I can see Benoit Saint Denis really losing this fight is because it's one of those times where he got chinned like in his last fight, and then his chin's not there anymore. But we have no reason to really believe that to be the case. I honestly even think if they start grappling that Benoit Saint Denis will get the better of Renato Moicano. It's tough to say. I just think he's better everywhere. I think he's more violent. I think he's going to get the better of Renato Moicano in every aspect of this fight. It's unfortunate because I really am hoping Money Moicano gets a job done. I respect Money Moicano and what he's doing this for. I like Benoit Saint Denis too. It's a fantastic fight. It's a really, really great fight against two really solid contenders. It's going to be, hopefully it's going to be a war. I just think that Benoit Saint Denis is going to get the job done, man. Let's take a look at the odds and what they're sitting at. It's understandable. Benoit Saint Denis is sitting at a minus 263 favorite. I like that. Honestly, even if it went to minus 300, I would understand that. I don't see Renato Moicano getting the win here. I think that he's going to get the job done. Unless Moicano can somehow just will his way to victory, I think Benoit can outdo him. Benoit's not going to have staff, I hope. But that's going to be my pick, guys. Benoit Saint Denis to get the win in the main event. We have a fantastic card ahead of us, guys. I cannot wait to watch this for a fight night. It's an absolute banger. Let me know what you thought about the card down below. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for watching. In the meantime, guys, while you are waiting, check out this video talking about the Ian Gary being locked out of his house situation. Very, very strange. We take a look at what a bunch of people had to say about it. I give my thoughts, and I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Take care, everybody.